Growing up in a small town in Ohio, my sister Claire and I were inseparable. Our parents worked double shifts at the local factory just to put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads. I always felt this deep need to protect Claire, especially when kids at school picked on her for wearing hand-me-down clothes. Family meant everything to me back then, and I truly believed nothing could ever change that. But sometimes having a big heart makes you an easy target. I just never imagined the person taking aim would be my own baby sister. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you enjoy stories about family betrayal and finding the strength to stand up for yourself, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Stick around because what I discovered on my father's 62nd birthday changed everything I believed about family loyalty. My name is Marcus, and I am 34 years old now. I have spent the last 12 years of my life building a career as a software engineer. Right after graduating from Ohio State University with a degree in computer science, I landed an entry-level position at a small tech startup in Columbus. I worked my way up slowly, putting in 60-hour weeks, volunteering for projects nobody else wanted, and teaching myself new programming languages on weekends. Eventually, all that sacrifice paid off. I became a senior software engineer at a mid-sized tech company, earning around $120,000 a year. I never cared much about flashy things. My apartment had 2 bedrooms, one of which I converted into a home office. I drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic that still ran perfectly fine. My idea of a good weekend was watching football with my buddy Tyler, maybe grilling some burgers in my small backyard. I saved money religiously, not because I had big dreams of luxury, but because financial security meant peace of mind to me. Growing up watching my parents struggle taught me that much. Claire took a different path. She studied marketing in college, but never quite found her footing in the corporate world. At 29, she was working as a junior marketing coordinator at a small advertising agency downtown. The pay was modest, barely enough to cover her expenses in a city where rent prices kept climbing every year. But Claire had always been the dreamer in our family. She believed something big was just around the corner, even when evidence suggested otherwise. Then she met Derek. He was 31, a freelance graphic designer who talked a lot about his creative vision and future projects. They connected through one of those dating apps and fell hard for each other within weeks. Derek had this confident charm about him, always talking about the big clients he was about to land, the creative agency he planned to open someday. Claire was completely smitten. After 2 years of dating, Derek proposed with a ring that looked expensive but was probably bought on credit. Claire said yes without hesitation. The two of them moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in the Short North District, one of the trendiest and most expensive neighborhoods in Columbus. I remember raising my eyebrows when Claire told me about the rent. $1,800 a month for a space barely big enough to swing a cat. But Claire insisted it was important for Derek's career to live somewhere that looked successful. Apparently, perception mattered in the creative industry. 8 months ago, everything changed. It was a Tuesday evening, and I was just finishing up some code reviews when my phone rang. Claire's name flashed on the screen, and even before I answered, something in my gut told me this was not a casual call. She was crying. Not the dramatic tears she sometimes used to get her way, but genuine gasping sobs that made my chest tighten. Between hiccups, she explained that Derek had lost his biggest client. Some disagreement about creative direction had blown up, and now the project that was supposed to pay their bills for the next 6 months had vanished overnight. They could not make rent. The landlord was threatening eviction. They had nowhere else to turn. What was I supposed to do? This was my baby sister, the same girl whose hand I held on her first day of kindergarten, the same teenager I taught to drive in our parents' old station wagon. I did not even hesitate. I logged into my banking app and transferred $1,800 to Claire's account before we even hung up the phone. She promised it was just this once. just until Derek found new clients, just until they got back on their feet. I believed her because I wanted to believe her, because believing in family was all I knew how to do. But 1 month turned into 2, 2 turned into 4. Each time Claire would call with another explanation. Derek was networking hard, but the industry was tough. A promising lead fell through at the last minute. They were so close to stability, they just needed a little more time. And each time I transferred the money without question. $1,800 month after month quietly disappearing from my savings account into theirs. I never told our parents. Dad had retired early due to a bad back, and Mom was dealing with her own health issues. The last thing they needed was to worry about their adult children struggling financially. Besides, I did not want Claire to feel embarrassed. She was already sensitive about not being as successful as her older brother. Keeping this between us seemed like the kind thing to do. Looking back now, I realize how blind I was. But love does that to you. Family does that to you. You see what you want to see because the alternative is too painful to consider. Around the 4-month mark, I decided to visit Claire and Derek at their apartment. I had been so busy with work that I had not actually seen the place since they moved in. Part of me was curious to check on them to see with my own eyes how they were managing. The first thing I noticed when Claire opened the door was the television. It was massive, at least 65 inches, mounted on the wall like something out of a showroom. The living room had been completely redecorated since the photos Claire sent when they first moved in. A sleek leather sectional replaced the old futon they used to have. Decorative throw pillows that probably cost more than my entire bedroom set. Abstract art prints in expensive-looking frames. I must have stared a beat too long because Claire immediately jumped in with an explanation. Derek's parents had visited last month and insisted on buying them some housewarming gifts. "You know how generous they are," she said with a wave of her hand. I did not actually know Derek's parents at all, but I nodded anyway. It seemed rude to question a gift. A few weeks later, scrolling through Instagram late one night, I stumbled on a post from Claire. She and Derek were at some upscale restaurant downtown, the kind with cloth napkins and a wine list thicker than a novel. Candlelight flickered across their smiling faces. The caption read something about celebrating life's little victories. I texted her the next day, keeping it casual. That restaurant looked amazing. "What was the occasion?" Claire responded quickly. Derek finally landed a small project and wanted to celebrate. We used a gift card someone gave us for our engagement. Made sense, I supposed. People give restaurant gift cards all the time. I pushed the nagging feeling aside and went back to my life. Then came the conversation with Tyler. We were at his place watching the Buckeyes game, working through a case of beer and a mountain of nachos when he mentioned something offhand. "Hey, did I tell you I ran into Claire and Derek at the outlet mall last weekend?" Tyler grabbed another chip, completely unaware he was about to drop a bomb on me. They were loading up bags like Christmas came early. Must be doing better these days, huh? I felt something cold settle in my stomach. The outlet mall was 40 minutes away, and Claire always complained about how much she hated driving. For her to make that trip meant serious shopping was involved. But according to her, they could barely afford groceries. I made some non-committal response and changed the subject. But the question kept gnawing at me. That night I could not sleep. I kept running the numbers in my head. 8 months of rent at $1,800 meant I had given them $14,400. Where was all that money actually going? Against my better judgment, I called Claire the next evening. I tried to keep my voice light, just checking in, asking how things were going financially. But something in my tone must have given me away because Claire's response was sharp, defensive. "Why are you asking? Are you keeping track or something?" Her voice had an edge I rarely heard directed at me. I stammered out something about just being concerned, wanting to make sure they were okay. But Claire cut me off. "Marcus, I already feel terrible about needing your help. Do you have to make it worse by interrogating me? Derek is trying his best. These things take time. Do you think I enjoy calling my big brother for money every month? Her voice cracked on the last words, and then she was crying. Those same gasping sobs from the first phone call. She said she felt like a failure. She said she was ashamed. She said she wished she had her life together like I did. By the time we hung up, I was the one apologizing. I felt like a monster for even questioning her. What kind of brother doubts his own sister during her lowest moment? I promised myself I would stop being so suspicious. Family trusts each other. Family supports each other without conditions. That night, I transferred the next month's rent a week early just to show Claire I believed in her. Dad's 62nd birthday fell on a Saturday in late October. Mom insisted on hosting the celebration at their house, the same modest split level where Claire and I grew up. She had been cooking for 3 days straight, filling the freezer with homemade pierogi and the oven with her famous pot roast. Dad pretended to be annoyed by all the fuss, but I caught him smiling to himself when he thought no one was looking. I spent 2 weeks searching for the perfect gift. Dad had mentioned once years ago about a watch he saw in a store window when he was young. He could never afford it back then, and by the time he had money, the store had closed. I tracked down that exact model through an antique dealer, a vintage Bulova from the 1960s. It cost me more than I wanted to admit, but seeing Dad's face when he opened it would be worth every penny. The drive from my apartment to my parents' house took about 45 minutes through light Saturday traffic. I left early, wanting to help Mom with last-minute preparations. According to her texts, Claire and Derek had arrived the night before and were already there helping set up. I pulled into the driveway at exactly 2:15, about 15 minutes earlier than I had told Mom to expect me. The front door was locked, which was unusual. Mom always left it open when she was expecting company. I walked around to the back of the house, figuring I would just come in through the kitchen like I did when I was a kid. The back door was unlocked. I stepped into the mudroom, quietly setting down my jacket and the wrapped gift. I could hear voices coming from somewhere deeper in the house. Not the kitchen, but maybe the small den off the living room. Laughter. Claire's voice. Derek's deeper tone. I smiled to myself, glad they seemed to be in good spirits. Then I heard my name. I stopped walking. Every muscle in my body went rigid. Some instinct, some primal warning system told me not to announce my presence. Instead, I took 2 silent steps closer to the partially open door of the den. Derek was talking. His voice had that smug, self-satisfied tone I had always found slightly annoying, but tried to ignore for Claire's sake. Honestly, your brother is the easiest mark I have ever seen. The guy practically throws money at us. All you have to do is cry a little, and boom, $1,800 in the account. Claire giggled. That was the sound that broke something inside me. Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable chuckle. A genuine, delighted giggle. I know, right? It is almost too easy. He is so desperate to be the good big brother that he never even questions it. I could probably tell him Derek needs surgery and he would empty his savings account. Derek snorted. Remember when he asked about the new TV? I thought we were busted for sure. But you played it perfectly with the whole gift from my parents' story. He bought it completely. He is so gullible. Claire's voice again dripping with contempt. I honestly do not understand why he is still single. Probably because he is boring and has no social life. All he does is work and play video games with that loser friend of his. Hey, that works for us. Derek again. The more pathetic his life is, the more he needs us to make him feel useful. We should milk this for at least another year. By then we will have enough saved for a down payment on a condo. Claire laughed again. And our Cancun trip next month is going to be amazing. Thanks, Marcus. They clinked glasses. I heard the sound clearly through the door. A toast. They were toasting to exploiting me. I do not remember walking back to my car. One moment I was standing in that hallway, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. The next moment I was sitting behind the wheel of my Civic, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. $14,400. That was the amount I had given them, not including the gift I was about to give my father, paid for with overtime hours I worked while they were apparently shopping at outlet malls and planning tropical vacations. I thought about all the times I said no to Tyler when he invited me to concerts or weekend trips. I thought about the promotion I almost missed because I was too stressed about money to perform at my best. I thought about lying awake at night worrying about my little sister, praying she would be okay. All of it was a joke to them. I was a joke to them. Sitting in that car watching leaves blow across my parents' lawn, I made a decision. I would not ruin Dad's birthday. He deserved better than to have his party overshadowed by family drama. I would go inside, smile, celebrate, and say nothing. But after today, everything was going to change. I wiped my face, checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, and walked back into the house through the front door, this time loudly announcing my arrival. Mom rushed over to hug me. Dad clapped me on the shoulder. Claire bounced over with a big smile, telling me how much she missed me. "Best big brother in the whole world," she said, squeezing me tight. I hugged her back and said nothing. The party lasted 4 hours. I smiled until my face hurt. I laughed at Dad's terrible jokes. I complimented Mom's cooking. I even made small talk with Derek about some football game I did not care about. But the whole time I was watching them. Really watching with clear eyes for the first time. I noticed the way Claire's smile never quite reached her eyes when she looked at me. I noticed how Derek's compliments always felt slightly rehearsed, like lines from a script. I noticed them exchanging glances when they thought no one was paying attention, those little looks that couples share when they have a secret. When it was time to leave, I hugged my parents extra long. Something told me the next family gathering would be very different. The week after Dad's birthday was one of the longest of my life. I barely slept. I could not eat. I kept replaying that conversation in my head, hearing Claire's laughter over and over, like a song stuck on repeat. I finally broke down and told Tyler everything. We were sitting in my living room, no game on this time, just 2 old friends and the weight of betrayal hanging in the air. Tyler's face went through about 12 different expressions as I talked, eventually settling on pure rage. "You need to cut them off immediately." Tyler was practically vibrating with anger on my behalf. "Do not give them another cent. Tell your parents. Tell everyone. Let the whole world know what kind of person your sister really is." But I shook my head. If I acted out of anger, I would be no better than them. I wanted to handle this strategically, deliberately. I wanted them to understand the consequences of their choices, not just face my wrath. So I made a plan. I would give them 1 more month, one final chance to come clean, to show even a shred of honesty. If Claire called with her usual request and told me the truth, that they were actually doing fine and had been taking advantage of me, I would find a way to forgive. People make mistakes. Family deserves second chances. But if she lied again, then I would know exactly who she really was. The 1st of November arrived. Right on schedule, Claire texted me asking if I could send the rent money. I called her back, keeping my voice neutral and warm. "Hey, Claire. Sure, I can help. Just wanted to check in first. How is Derek's work going? Any new projects on the horizon?" She sighed heavily into the phone. "Honestly, Marcus, it is still really tough out there. The creative industry is so competitive. He has some leads, but nothing solid yet. We might need your help for a few more months. I am so sorry to keep asking." She was lying. I knew she was lying. I had heard her talking about Cancun, about down payments, about milking me for another year. Yet here she was, voice trembling slightly, playing the struggling little sister to perfection. "No problem," I said. The transfer went through that night. $1,800 one last time. 30 days later, when the next rent was due, I did nothing. No transfer, no text, no call. I simply went about my life as if the 1st of December was any other day. 3 days passed before my phone buzzed. Claire's name on the screen. "Hey Marcus, just checking in. Did you maybe forget about the transfer this month?" "No big deal. If so, just wanted to make sure." I typed back a simple response. "Hey Claire, I think Derek has been doing well enough lately. You two should be fine now. Good luck." The phone calls started almost immediately, first from Claire, then from Derek. They left voicemails that progressed from confused to concerned to angry to desperate over the course of a week. I did not answer a single one. Claire sent paragraph after paragraph through text. She was worried about me. Had something happened? Was I sick? Was I in financial trouble myself? The irony of that last question almost made me laugh out loud. Derek's messages had a different tone. "Buddy, we really need to talk. I think there has been some kind of misunderstanding. Whatever is going on, we can work it out. Just call me back." "Okay." I read every message but responded to none. Finally, about 10 days into December, Claire called again. This time I answered. "Marcus, oh, thank God." She was crying again, those familiar sobs. "We are about to be evicted. We do not have the money. Please, I am begging you. I do not know what we did wrong, but whatever it is, I am sorry. Please help us." I let her finish. Then I spoke calmly. "You know, Claire, I have been thinking, if money is that tight, maybe you should cancel that Cancun trip you have been planning. Those vacation savings could probably cover a few months of rent." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could practically hear her mind racing, trying to figure out how I knew. What are you talking about?" Her voice had lost all its tearful vulnerability. Now she just sounded scared. "I know enough," I said. "I know about the new furniture. I know about the shopping trips. I know exactly what you and Derek think of me. And I know I am done being your personal ATM machine. Marcus, please let me explain. Save it, Claire. I am not interested. Do not call me again." I hung up the phone and blocked both of their numbers. Then I sat in my apartment alone in the silence, and finally let myself feel the full weight of what had happened. Without my financial support, Claire and Derek's carefully constructed lifestyle collapsed almost immediately. The Cancun trip was canceled. The credit cards they had been secretly maxing out came due. Derek started blaming Claire for losing their meal ticket, and Claire fired back that it was his idea in the first place. Their relationship, built on a foundation of deception and easy money, started crumbling from the inside. By February, they had moved out of the short north apartment and into a cramped studio in a less desirable part of town. The engagement was put on indefinite hold. Derek took a job at a print shop to make ends meet, his dreams of a creative empire quietly shelved. Claire still worked her marketing job but no longer talked about the big break that was just around the corner. Eventually, Claire told our parents her version of events. She showed up at their house in tears, claiming that Marcus had abandoned her for no reason during the hardest time of her life. She was counting on them to take her side to pressure me into reconciliation. Instead, Mom called me. Her voice was cautious, confused. She asked what had happened between us. I told her everything. The 8 months of payments. The conversation I overheard at Dad's birthday party. The lies, the laughter, the complete and utter betrayal. The line was quiet for a long time. Then I heard my father's voice. He had picked up the extension, listening in. "Is this true, Marcus? Everything you just said?" "Every word, Dad. I would not lie about something like this." Another long pause. Then my father spoke again, his voice heavy with disappointment. "We need to talk to your sister." What happened next, I learned from Mom later. They confronted Claire. She denied it at first, claimed I was exaggerating, said I must have misheard. But when they pressed her, when they demanded specific answers about the money and the vacation and the things I heard her say, she broke down. She admitted to everything: the fake struggling, the real shopping sprees, the jokes at my expense, the plan to keep exploiting me as long as possible. My parents did not kick her out. They were not that kind of people. But something fundamental shifted in how they saw their daughter. They told her she needed to take responsibility for her own life from now on. No more bailouts. No more excuses. If she wanted to rebuild trust with this family, she would have to earn it. The first few months after cutting off Claire were brutal. I questioned everything. Had I been too harsh? Was there another way I could have handled it? Maybe if I had confronted her directly instead of just disappearing. Maybe if I had given her a chance to explain in person. But Tyler helped me see things clearly. "Marcus," he said one evening over beers, "you have nothing to feel guilty about. You were generous and kind and trusting, and they took advantage of that. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. It is self-preservation." Slowly, I started focusing on myself again. I joined a gym and stuck with it for the first time in my life. I signed up for a cooking class downtown, something I had always wanted to try but never made time for. I started saying yes to social invitations I would have declined before. 6 months later, at that same cooking class, I met Amanda. She was a pediatric nurse with a warm smile and a laugh that filled the whole room. We bonded over our shared inability to properly chop an onion and our mutual love of terrible puns. Our relationship developed slowly, built on honesty and mutual respect. When I eventually told her about what happened with Claire, she listened without judgment. Then she said something I will never forget. "The fact that you can still love and trust after being hurt like that shows how strong you are. Do not let what they did make you afraid to be generous with the right people." Amanda was right. I did not want to become cynical or closed off. The problem was never my generosity. The problem was giving it to people who did not deserve it. About a year after I cut contact, an email appeared in my inbox. Claire's address. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. It was long. She started by acknowledging that she had no right to contact me, that she understood if I never responded. Then she apologized. Not the defensive excuse-filled apologies from before, but something that sounded genuine. She took full responsibility. She admitted that she had been selfish and cruel. She said that losing me as a brother was the hardest consequence she had ever faced, and that she thought about it every day. She did not ask for money. She did not ask for a relationship. She just wanted me to know she was sorry. I read that email 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and went for a long walk. I still have not responded. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I will not. Forgiveness is a process, not a switch you can flip overnight. Claire and I have a long road ahead of us if we ever decide to walk it together again. But here is what I have learned from all of this. Loving someone does not mean letting them hurt you. Being family does not give people a free pass to treat you badly. And saying no, drawing a line, protecting your own heart, that is not selfishness. That is survival. You are allowed to stop giving to people who only take. You are allowed to step back from relationships that drain you. You are allowed to choose yourself. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. But that does not mean you have to keep bleeding for them. You can stop. You can heal. You can walk away. Because at the end of the day, the person who will always be there for you is yourself. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you trusted completely turned out to be using you? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. We are all just trying to figure this out together. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future stories. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. and turn on those notifications so you are always part of our community. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being here. Remember, you deserve people in your life who value you for who you are, not for what you can give them. Take care of yourself. Protect your heart and never apologize for having boundaries. Until next time.